Any good stories from the road?
Pipe up.
I wish we'd gotten to see a little bit more out of our punter.
I'm starting to puke.
It makes my stomach hurt.
I thought he was going to die.
I'm starting to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
He's on the probiotics.
Is Georgia playing the 1985 Bears this weekend or what?
A lot of Todd talk.
Rat poison proof.
They're mongoose.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction.
Howdy, howdy. It's the Georgia Show. I know it's NFL championship, conference championship weekend, so appreciate everyone who joins us regularly. Turn myself up a little bit here. Already got some comments in from Tomahawk Dog, ready for some Todd talk. Uncle Glenn Hartley still celebrating the back-to-back. That never gets old. And you know it, we are on the probiotics. What's up, Andy Stowe? For the Jakes and Palmer, I'm Wes Blankenship. New here, welcome. Guys, I think that until this morning we were going to start the show talking about Todd Monken, but Stetson Bennett had other plans.
I don't really think there's a whole lot to it. It's not a good look, especially when you combine it with the fact that he could be working out at the Senior Bowl. It's not going to help him. But you kind of get to know some front office people, not general managers, anything like that. I'm not trying to act like I'm, DMing with direct, like that, but you get to know a few scouts and talk to guys. And most of the people I talked to today kind of shrugged it off, were like, hey, nah, you'd be surprised how much this comes up. But at the same time, it doesn't help. And anything that doesn't help you when you're not, a top flight pick is, it's, you probably don't need to engage in it. You probably don't need to have that happen to you. And I can't say that I haven't been in the exact same situation as Stetson in Bucktown, Wicker Park, Chicago before. I only knocked on 2 or 3 doors before I ended up getting where I was going. But, it happens. Jake Roos can attest to it as well. Sometimes you wake up on a cold winter morning and a man's in your car. Stuff like that happens.
Yeah, end up laying dead on a Mexican stoop, man. I mean, it can take place anywhere. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, yeah, it happens, right? I mean, a lot of people talk about the idea of the pretty much the common refrain that I've heard from everybody is like, anybody who drinks has probably been in a situation like this before. Now, the magnifying glass is a lot more focused on Stetson Bennett, and I get that. And the thing about it is Stetson Bennett gets that as well. And he understands that he's going to have to talk about this and address it for the next few months for sure. And once those combine interviews come around, it's going to be even more brutal. But, I think that, I don't know. I'm with Roe in the sense that it doesn't really matter much. I think that it is what it is because Stetson is who he is and he's done what he's done. And if he hadn't done any of those things, then nobody would care anyway. But like I said, the microscope's focused on him. I get it. And, I think he'll shrug it off. And I would be shocked, really, if he wasn't able to keep his nose clean from here moving forward. It may have been a wake-up call for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys where I don't think it's a huge deal. I like Jake's Rose said, anything that becomes a question when you're not a, surefire top 10, first round pick, that's probably not something that you want, but teams are going to be willing to overlook it, I think, because first of all, they probably understand where he's at. It's not a good thing, but I really don't know that it's a bad thing for his draft stock.
There are a lot worse things to be.
There are a lot worse.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, this is about as low on the rung as you can go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe driving with a suspended license would have been the only thing.
Another famed Georgia, another Georgia classic offense.
I think that would have maybe been the only one that you could get the cuff slapped on you for something, and it be less than this. And I mean, listen. I don't think, we've had some things brought up like the Good Morning America thing. Well, last year, I mean, guys, come on. That was
happy.
Listen, we knew how we knew how late that night ran.
How did everybody? I mean, what if we'd put you on Good Morning?
Oh
America?
my God, I wasn't even.
I'm not talking about
worse than drunk.
I'm talking about the collective you.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking to everybody listening to this. But yeah, me too.
I was worse than drunk. I was like Sean William Scott in Old School. I was like, I had a dart in my neck. I was like, oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. That's how I felt that next morning. So God knows what I would have said that day. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do think Stetson does have to rein it in. He's going to have a good strategy when he goes in to talk to these teams about it. And that is just going to be to completely own up to it and probably make fun of himself a little bit. But he wasn't behind the wheel of a car. He wasn't in a fight, causing – I mean, we could say he was causing a stir, but he wasn't like maliciously trying to, cause problems for anybody. I don't know. I think that I think that this is just – it doesn't help. I just don't think it hurts a whole lot either. And I think somebody, and not only that, but the point I've been trying to make over at our message board today has been the fact that, that Baker Mayfield kind of had the same deal, right? And
Baker ran, and the mail doesn't run on Sundays.
That's true. That's true. But Baker literally couldn't have been drafted any higher. And I think there's some revisionist history going on, like Baker was a number 1 pick coming out. No, Baker won the Heisman. During the pre-draft process is when Baker kind of rose to become the number 1 pick. Now, we can make the argument that the Browns picked him and how smart that was all we want, Roos. We can talk about that all you want to. But at the end of the day, Johnny Manziel, all the stuff he did, he still ended up getting drafted in the first round.
Compared to Johnny Manziel, far as we know, nothing. Stetson is –
I was talking to – I asked a scout about that. I talked to him that. He goes, man, alcohol was not the only concern with Johnny Manziel. If it was, we'd probably be, singing a different tune. I don't know what that meant, but it was. I didn't dig in there. But, Stetson, I think this is less of a deal because he's further back, because you're talking about investing – $2 to $2.5 million in a guy as opposed to investing $40 million in a guy. Sure. And $40 million guaranteed, because that number 1 pick has gotten to where it gets fully guaranteed money. So I think Stetson's going to be fine. It's just a kind of a road back at this point for him. He obviously didn't have a workout to get to today. He shirked it if he did, because
he can get in trouble in Mobile, Alabama too. I think people are overlooking that just because Stetson was in Dallas doesn't mean
not much else to do in Mobile.
Yeah, he probably would have gotten in more trouble in Mobile.
Hey, sometimes your phone gets a little water on it in Mobile, Alabama. You end up running up and down the streets. You're trying to find a new phone.
Yeah, I've been fascinated today, guys. I agree. It's nothing. It's not nothing, but we don't condone knocking on strangers' doors at 6 a.m. drunkenly on a Sunday morning. That's the Lord's Day and people are trying to get ready for church. Maybe on a Friday morning, it's a little bit more acceptable. We don't condone that. I am a little amused by the Georgia fan base that's reacting, and some of it in our comments section today, a lot on social media. Stetson's almost added to his cult hero status a little bit with this, and kind of, I don't know if there's any Venn diagram overlap between the crowd that hated what he did at the parade and the crowd that is saying this is awesome. I love Stetson more for this, but you can't deny that. People are already telling me that if the Stetson mugshot comes out, that they'll buy the T-shirt. So it goes both ways.
I probably will too, man. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, probably whatever he's going to miss out on by, maybe falling a couple picks in the draft, if that's what it causes him, he'll probably recoup on selling the T-shirt with the mugshot.
Yeah, I'll probably get that T-shirt and frame it up and put it in the office. I don't know if I'd want to wear it around. I'm not a big graphic tee guy, but I would probably put that one in the office and
get on it, Breaking T.
Hey, listen, if we know anything about Stetson, if we do know anything about him and kind of the way we've heard him talk over the years, he's going to make fun of himself a little bit over this when he talks to people.
I love this comment. I love this comment over here from Ducati Tech. Mugshot Stetson with the "them dogs is hell" below it.
Yes.
That's perfect, man.
I did see one thing that was saying that nothing would make the mugshot better than if he was wearing the "Them Dogs Is Hell" sweatshirt in the mugshot.
Oh man,
I would say if
with
he
a
looked
fresh
like he did-
Tequavius fade.
If
Yeah.
if he looked like he did at Jones Community College in the mugshot, that would actually make it better.
He might
Oh
have
man,
been- he
I
might have
really
been
want to see that
intoxicated
Jones
taking
Community
that.
College photo, Wes. If you could get that thing pulled up.
He might have been intoxicated in that photo.
One of my favorite things over the course of Stetson's career is the best one is the photo of the Jones Community College thing. Whenever they like, this guy just did this to you.
Yeah.
The other one is the meme
Yes.
from. Oh my god, it's even worse. It's worse. It gets worse every time. The other one is the meme from Pocahontas. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go into it and explain it because I don't want to be problematic. It's not bad. It just says that, these white people are dangerous. And it says, when you're talking about, after you play Georgia and Stetson Bennett, Lab McConkey, and Brock Bowers rip you to pieces. It's got the Native American dude saying, these white people are dangerous. So
If I'm not mistaken, I think that video has been deleted off of Twitter and you can't find those tweets anymore.
Oh, it's gone.
man.
I will raise this question because I am curious, and I've seen a lot of people make this statement. Is basically like, is it a little more concerning because he is 25 years old and not 20 years old? I can see where that's coming from. I don't know that that's necessarily huge. I think that maybe that raises the eyebrow a little further on it, but it's not like a make or break deal for me. But he's not an 18-year-old kid doing this either. But now listen, I'm a 35-year-old man and it could happen to me. I'm just saying.
Well,
You never know.
One,
It's happening tonight.
on the wheel of a car. Two, he's not doing this in Athens, where he lives, where he's very familiar. He's doing, he's somewhere where he's probably never
He
been.
wasn't doing it while he was under Kirby Smart's watch and
Right.
Todd Monken's watch.
Sure.
He was taking care of his business in Athens. Now, I do understand the perception. Hey, you are getting all these questions. You're already doubted so much. How seriously are you taking this thing? And that is what he's going to have to answer from the scouts, from the people at the combine, from anyone who wants to talk to him now. How serious are you about this? Do you want to play in the league?
Mark Richt has lost control of Stetson Bennett.
Yep, 100%.
Breaking T, I'm sorry to say, does not yet have the Stetson mugshot T-shirt, but the newest shirt that you can buy is pretty close. It is Stetson, saying back to back. And another one, That Dog Will Hunt, that classic logo, everything you could want on Breaking T, any style, the new Georgia typeface when they did the rebrand, or the old school Bulldog right here, just standing proud. They really have everything for everybody. A lot of sites try to do their own spin on things, their own style, be all old school or all new. Breaking T's got clever shirts. They've got simple shirts. They've got bold shirts. They're beautiful. And the link to Breaking T is in this show description, as always.
Breaking T, the bold and the beautiful.
That was what I was thinking too.
Let's talk about Todd Monken. And last time we spoke, I think we knew about the Buccaneers interview. Since then, maybe we didn't. I don't even remember. Maybe it was speculated. What we do know now, though, is the reports that Monken's interviewed with the Ravens and with the Bucs. I think one of those jobs may be slightly more desirable, but I don't know if either one of them is ultimately the thing that's going to lure him away from Georgia permanently. But you got to take the interview.
Well, it sounds like from, just kind of piecing stuff together, the Ravens process might last a while. Because they've requested permission to interview a guy that's coaching right now, Eric Bieniemy, as offensive coordinator, and he would be the play caller there. I don't think he actually calls plays in Kansas City. I think Andy Reid does that. I really still don't see Todd Monken taking the Tampa job. And honestly, just from, again, piecing information together, the timing of it, that job's been open for a little while. I know he was speculated to begin with. It sounds to me like, again, putting some things in. I think they had to kind of sell him on coming and interviewing for that job. I think he's wanted for that job. I don't necessarily know how much he wants it. They're going to have a chance to impress him though, and kind of sell them on their vision. And he may have a chance to, I don't think a lot of this is him having to sell himself. I think he could get a job if he really wanted a job. I think this is kind of, basically letting the process play out for him. And, if it comes down to money, I think Georgia's going to be able to handle that. But we'll get into kind of more of a hot board thing and all that stuff. My phone was blowing up asking about Mike Bobo this weekend. Mike Bobo, guys, let me tell you something. If you wanted Buster Faulkner and Georgia wanted Buster Faulkner before, Buster Faulkner is going to be back at Georgia. Okay, if Todd Monken leaves, Buster Faulkner will come right back. He probably is wearing a Georgia polo under the Georgia Tech polo that he's wearing right now, just so he could be ready for it and get there. He's going to flip his belt over. It'll be a Georgia belt. It'll be the one like Murray Poole used to wear. If Georgia wanted Buster Faulkner to be its offensive coordinator, it'd be that guy. I mean, they did it with Trey Scott. They did it with Brian McClendon. They did it with Chidera Uzo-Uribe. They're gonna get a guy that's been hired somebody else if that's who they want. So let's don't get in the doldrums and be less productive and maybe get in trouble at work tomorrow because you're really worried about Mike Bobo becoming the offensive coordinator. They'll get who they wanted.
Would it be the worst thing though if hypothetically Bobo was the guy?
Not in my opinion, but I've already told somebody I wouldn't go on a rant about that. So.
Oh, okay. Did you tell him that?
Bobo?
Yeah.
No, I didn't tell Bobo that. But I think Mike Bobo is a good offensive coordinator. And I think if you look back and you think, okay, well, he did some good things at Colorado State. He had a bad year at Auburn. He had a bad year at South Carolina. Both of those head coaches got let go. There was talent problems at both of those schools. Mike Bobo without a passing game, with one fifth-round pick in his starting five on the offensive line, no first-round receivers. Now, he had a bevy of running backs. Now, he had a Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, and a little bit of Sony Michel because Michel was hurt a lot that year. He had some ballers at running back, but that's pretty much the only talent he had. He had Hudson Mason at quarterback, and they averaged almost 42 points a game. So I think he's a good OC. Trust Kirby. He made the one-year mistake with James Coley. And that's pretty much been it because Jim Chaney did a good job. Obviously, Todd Monken's done a good job. So I don't think Georgia fans need to worry too much yet about Todd Monken leaving. And then if he does, they'll get who they want. If Georgia Tech taking Buster Faulkner to the 404 did not ruin anything. He will leave from right over there where they Cartoon Network, right across the street from Cartoon Network, and come right back to Athens in a heartbeat.
Police escort up 316, just doing 95, pedal to the floor, man. But
I've heard he's not a big Adult Swim fan anyway. So.
No, yeah,
he probably still has his place in Athens. I don't know if he's even sold it.
Who knows? Yeah, sure. I think too. Listen, Mike Bobo is not Brian Schottenheimer. Okay. I think we can all agree on that. I think that it's
Mike Bobo left the program and it fell apart.
That's what I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Bobo left and everything. I mean, it led you to here. So ultimately, I guess that was a net positive to some degree. But yes, the wheels kind of came off.
That's a really great just line in the sand to look back at and appreciate what happened after he left and before he.
Bruce, do you remember
left.
that? Do you remember us standing like we were talking face to face, and I said, "Hey, I think Bobo's gone." And he goes, "Yeah." And he said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, "I don't know. I feel like the program's falling apart because he kind of, listen, Mark Richt, Georgia doesn't go. Mark Richt doesn't get it back on track and to the extent that he did and get back to another couple of SEC championship games without Mike Bobo. Because Bobo ran the program a lot. I think when Rick was struggling with his own health and struggling with his personal life there, with his wife being also ill. So, I mean, Mike Bobo held a lot of that together. Again, I still don't even know if he'd be the OC.
Right.
But he's a good coach.
No, exactly. That's the thing. It's like we're being very presumptive. And I get, people probably to some degree are rightfully assuming those things because you bring Will Muschamp back, right? So it's like the boys are back in town. Everybody's coming back and everybody's getting to hang out. You get a job. Hey, like let's get all my friends hooked up. But
let's go downtown tonight.
I think it's a fool's errand to assume that Kirby is just automatically going to default to turn.
Oh yeah, that's not going to be the case at all.
Yeah. I think that, but I think a lot of people are assuming that's going to happen. And I just can't see that. I mean, you've got on your own staff, right? You've got Brian McClendon, OC experience. You've got Del McGee, who's had some experience. He was the head coach of Georgia Southern for a game. I mean, you've got guys out there too that are available, and there's not a lot of jobs as desirable as Georgia, NFL or college, in terms of stability, in terms of talent, in terms of the direction. So you're going to have your pick of the litter. Could it be Mike Bubba? Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Jake's saying, I think I'm not ready to, I don't think Todd Monken, I don't think that the worry's there just
I'm
yet.
not saying bye to him yet.
No, the Ravens and the Bucks are not good jobs right now in my
Cowboys just opened up theoretically with Kellen Moore leaving, but McCarthy will probably call the plays there.
Exactly.
So,
and
I don't think you're worried about that.
Lamar Jackson probably gone out of Baltimore. You've got no stability in Tampa Bay. You're probably going to be in the job market in the next year or two if you go to either of those jobs. I mean, the Harbaugh era, how much longer will it continue? During a rebuild, which is essentially if you lose Lamar Jackson, that's what's going to happen in Baltimore.
Well, and not to mention the Ravens, who were for a long time the cream of the crop in that division alongside the Steelers, they suddenly have dropped down. I mean, they made the playoffs this year, but they are not the number one team in that division at all. I mean, we're watching it right now with Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game for a second straight year, and they've got
you want to go try to outscore Joe Burrow?
Exactly. Greg Roman stepped down from doing that. He didn't want to. And Bruce, you said it well. There aren't many jobs, college or pro, better than Georgia right now. Georgia is a really good job, and it's going to take a really, really good job to lure Todd out of Athens. The stability is the biggest thing to me because he's been in the NFL. He's seen what instability in the NFL looks like, and he knows how secure his status is in Athens with what he's doing. He doesn't have to recruit a ton. He recruits a position that you only take one, maybe two quarterbacks a cycle. You're only recruiting a handful of guys overall, over the course of several classes. And, all you've got to do, he said it best, he gets paid to score points. He doesn't get paid to recruit super well. He doesn't get paid to be the face of the program. He gets paid to score points, and he's done that very well.
And like Jake said, too, the money I don't think is going to be any issue for Georgia. So the only reason that Todd Monken leaves, in my opinion, and this is something that you just kind of have to accept, is he's got something to prove to himself. He wants to go back to the NFL ranks and show that he can do it. And he was there and, hey, yeah, I want to run a pro offense and I want to put my spin on it. And that's to some degree understandable if that's the mode and the mindset that he's in. But otherwise, there's not a lot of lure that I can think of for him to move beyond where he is currently, personally.
Yeah, he's got a good gig, and it makes me hate the fake quote that came out the other day that much more, that the way this all happened. I mean, that stuff.
I've heard that quoted and cited on the radio as being a fact.
Yeah, people need to figure some stuff out, man, because that's bad. But and you need to stop putting stuff out there like that. I mean, how stupid are you? I mean, that's just straight stupidity.
Let's just make up some quotes.
Fantasyland. I only make up quotes whenever I need something to write. I've never done it. Swear to God, never done it. But no, I think another way to look at the Monken thing too is, he did leave Southern Miss as head coach at Southern Miss just to go coach in the NFL. I believe he was a receivers coach.
Yeah.
He's only
he was a coordinator though.
Oh, was he a coordinator? Okay.
Yeah.
But then also, I think it's maybe one and some change years that he's ever called plays in the NFL.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think he was the coordinator, but I don't think he was calling his own plays.
Yeah, most of the time he spent with Dirk Cutter was not actually calling plays.
Man, I bet that was just an electric room at lunchtime.
Most of the time I spent with Dirk Cutter as the head coach of the Falcons was pure misery. So,
was he the head coach of the Falcons or just the?
I think. Oh no, he was just the OC. That's right.
Yeah, Was he not any kind of interim at some point?
I think he might have been an interim. I think that's possible. I don't know, man. It sucked, whatever it was. Anytime he was there, I mean, just sprinkling just misery all over.
But I mean, I do think, the Ravens job is probably the most appealing job. But, folks, I don't think we need to forget that John Harbaugh was almost on his way out. Like that staff was almost let go before Lamar Jackson got hot, before Lamar Jackson kind of became a guy.
And is the job that desirable without Lamar?
No, when you got to try to find a quarterback.
Exactly.
No.
That's my point.
Not when you're picking where you're picking in the draft.
Yes.
I don't see it.
With Lamar, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can do, especially Todd Monken. Imagine translating over some of the things. Stetson
With Lamar, I don't think it's a debate. I don't think.
Now here is a question: Could the Ravens try to package some stuff up? Maybe Lamar Jackson as a part of the package and trade up to go get a quarterback.
I mean, they couldn't really make Lamar Jackson part of the package, could they?
No,
is he a free agent, or is he?
I think he's due. They can franchise tag him, but I think that's it.
Yeah, and that's a astronomical
$45 million. I think was the $45 million was the franchise.
Yeah, they may not be able to afford Todd Monken after that. When I look at what Georgia did last year, though, and I know these are two different sides of the ball, but when you replace all that NFL talent that no one thinks you can replace and repeat and win a national championship again, and then you do it the way that you did it, I'm not going to doubt Kirby Smart and his staff and his leadership replacing a coordinator. I mean, that seems like it might not be something that would just derail Georgia's program if he were to leave, just because I think Smart and his staff have already set the precedent. This is a machine that is rolling along, and one person leaving or 15 people leaving not going to derail us.
Are y'all a little bit surprised that this is the first? I mean, aside from Buster Faulkner leaving his analyst position and a couple strength staffers and offensive line guys, that this is the first, real scare that Georgia has had with an assistant coach.
Cortez Hankton left
this year, though.
This year,
right.
Yeah.
According to Bama fans, Glenn Schumann signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, well, some of them think that. Some of them, that Todd Grantham rumor is really picking up some steam. Seems like, Lord, especially Todd talk. I don't know, not really, Palmer, because I don't think anybody's offering Glenn Schumann a head coaching job just yet. Not a big school quite yet. We haven't heard about that. And obviously a head coaching job is what it is. Will Muschamp's had his shot at becoming a head coach. He's not moving up. Where else do you want to become a position coach, other than Georgia? I think it's such a destination job for guys that are in their jobs that they're eventually going to leave. But
what about guys that are not coordinators, position coaches that could become coordinators? Say, and I know these two guys are young in their careers, but Chidera and Fran moving on to become coordinators eventually. Trey Scott.
Yeah,
Trey Scott, man.
Todd Hartley at some point is probably going to have some people knocking on the door.
One thing you don't see a whole lot, though, is you don't see tight end coaches become OCs.
True.
You don't see not a lot. I mean, I think James Coley did it, but usually a guy will flip over and coach quarterback.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah, Dan Campbell.
Wasn't Chaney coaching tight ends?
Yeah, but I mean he had coached quarterbacks a lot in his career.
Right.
He got moved to coach tight ends after he coached quarterbacks initially at Georgia. You also don't see a lot of D-line coaches become defensive coordinators. And honestly, if I'm a great D-line coach, I mean, I probably want the challenge of coordinating my own defense at some point, but those guys get paid so much those guys and offensive line coaches get paid so well that, I mean, you want to talk about a cush job, worrying about your guys, worrying about recruiting your guys and building connections. Trey Scott could have the easiest job in America right now, because the talent is starting to kind of flow to him. There's a point, I don't care who you are, you don't have to work as hard for it anymore. It's kind of like skinny dudes and good looking women, I mean, it's, you just walk in there. Like, I think Louis C.K. had a joke about walk in there with your Adam's apple.
Yeah.
It's a great joke. If you've never heard it, listen to it. It's awesome. It applies to West. That's about it. But yeah, what you want just kind of comes to you. And Trey Scott sit there, make 600 and 650 and nickel and dime Georgia, 25, 50 grand at the time, get up to about $800,000, $900,000 a year, win a lot of titles, put a lot of guys in the NFL.
The bonuses that come with winning titles and stuff.
Look at Rodney Garner, man. He's made a hell of a career for himself, no question.
Called a defense, I think, for one game, and that was him and Todd Hartley worked together on that one in that Independence Bowl.
Last thing on Monken before we get to signing day. This is a good transition. A lot of the speculation about why Monken would leave is that it's just easier in the NFL where he doesn't have to recruit as much, but he's kind of one of those guys too. I mean, he doesn't have to go out and recruit a ton. It seems like he's got a pretty sweet deal with Kirby Smart, and Smart still expects him to get out there and do that a little bit, but I don't believe he has a burden on him, at least not optically, to go out there and beat up the recruiting trail like a lot of other coordinators do.
No, I would definitely agree with that. And Matthew C., I said on the board, I think it was him the other day, that, this is just 4D chess again. He's going to be able to interview with these teams, come back to Georgia, get a fat paycheck, and then say, hey, guys, the NFL came calling. They wanted me, but I'm here, and this is where I want to be. You can see that they think that I can develop guys. Let me develop you. I don't know that all that's happening, but the pitch is not unreasonable to me.
Hey, listen, a few years ago, when Todd Grantham and they had all that speculation, and I believe it was the Eagles or somebody that was open, and people were kind of talking to him, and that's when Georgia fans wanted to hold on to him and thought it was really good. It was after the 2012 season or something like that. Carried it. That's 2013 class, guys. That was a disastrous class. Took every mid-year they could possibly take because their numbers were shot.
It was a black stain on Georgia recruiting.
No doubt. I am almost positive, and when I say almost positive, I'm positive that Todd Grantham tried to kind of play that card. Like, I think he tried to kind of, I think he would have taken a job like that, but I don't think he ever really stepped up and struck down the rumors, because he wanted that as a recruiting pitch, and that is a recruiting pitch. Hey guys, NFL wanted me. The NFL wanted, loved what we do here so much that they tried to bring, take some of our staff. And we didn't want that, because we want to coach players like you. Telling you, man, it's sometimes some of the cheesiest stuff you can think of actually comes to pass in the whole area of recruiting. And it's just kind of like, hey, what gives you an edge?
Well, anyone who's seen Nick Saban dancing in his living room doing the cha-cha slide or the electric slide or whatever he's doing.
Well, I mean,
get it.
Along the point of Todd and his recruiting, and we don't know when exactly the Ravens interview was, but he was in Connecticut recruiting Ryan Puglisi on Friday.
What if Kirby was sitting outside the office? Hey, yeah, Todd, going in there. I'll wait on you.
We'll keep the car warm.
He definitely wasn't sitting outside.
He was gonna talk to Mike McDonald.
Kirby's standing outside the office. He's probably in there breaking down some film. We visited with the Ravens yesterday.
Just burning a heater outside of the office.
Walking around like Matthew,
checking his watch and drinking a Starbucks.
Like Matthew McConaughey and True Detective.
I'll say one of the most romantic things I ever witnessed. I was walking into Publix, and I saw a man standing outside, and he was it was a woman. And she was smoking a cigarette and just holding the grocery cart and waiting for her husband to come out so they could switch places. And in one fell swoop, she handed him the cigarette for him to finish so she could go back inside and do the rest of the shopping. And it was just true love outside the Publix in Bethlehem, Georgia.
I can hear the raspy, "We make a good team."
Which is that could have been a million towns, my friend. That could have been in McKaysville, Georgia tonight.
Oh, it's happening everywhere.
Talmo. No, there's not a Publix in Talmo. No.
Talmo, yes, absolutely.
There's not a Publix in Talmo.
Jake Roos, what do we know about how this weekend filled with visits to Athens, Georgia went for a lot of big name recruits? And by the way, Georgia picked up a new commitment.
Well, I was going to say it must have went pretty well because they picked up a new commitment, and not just any commitment. This kid can skate, man. Dwight Phillips Jr., father, a gold medalist in the Athens Olympics back in the day, out of Pebblebrook, not a traditional powerhouse, mind you. So very interesting to see that. But this kid absolutely can scoot. And Georgia suddenly, after all of that consternation last year about, is Del McGee losing it, looks to have 2 running back commits on board and talking about
how quickly they forget.
2 guys in the top 200. So pretty huge pickup here from Georgia. This guy has game-breaking speed. There's no question about it. You're talking about laser 4.27, I think is what I saw out there. Just absolute burners on the kid, man. And I think that people need to appreciate what they're doing. And I got to ask this question a lot too. Does this mean Georgia is done with running back? And I don't think so. I think that they will absolutely keep those doors open. When you're talking about guys like Jarrett Gibson, who played at Jonesboro before transferring to IMG Academy. When you're talking about Cam Davis out down there in Albany, who's committed to Florida State, but Georgia loves his game too and has recruited the hell out of him. Hedge your bets on that 25. Hedge your bets on that 25 class. Look, you swung and missed on a couple of guys in 23. You ended up with 1. Now you got 2 in. Hell, take 3. Why not? But Dwight Phillips, dude, look at this. Just skating. That looks sped up. That film looks sped up.
It's not.
No, outstanding work by Del McGee. And listen, Georgia has.
Jake, how much does the perception change if Andrew Paul doesn't get hurt this year? That could be a diamond in the rough too that no one knows about yet at the college level.
Oh, absolutely. And we were hearing good things about him coming out of camp last year prior to that injury. It sounded like he was really on that track. And that was a guy that they found late in that cycle who, unfortunately suffered that injury. But yeah, there's no question about it. This is I'm not here for the Del McGee burying. Okay. No. I think that Del McGee is still doing what he's doing. And the brand at Georgia as RBU is still strong because when you look around, these kids grew up watching Todd Gurley. These kids are watching what Nick Chubb's doing in the NFL. They know they know DeAndre Swift. They see him playing too. The brand is still strong. So I'm not concerned about that when it comes to the running back recruiting. But listen, Georgia had a lot of guys in this weekend. A lot of talented underclassmen. Juan Gaston, another guy people need to know about in that 25 class, huge guy. Absolutely Tomahawk Dog. Entire film doesn't look sped up. He looks sped up all by himself. No
and
question.
These are his sophomore highlights.
Yeah.
Yes. His juniors are in there as well. Yeah.
His junior year stuff is posted.
Let me say something about Del McGee here real quick. We're chopping wood tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dog Stocks Sunday.
Dog Stocks Sunday.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
That's right. Stock Sunday. God, suck.
All right. Wood Wednesday, Stock Sunday.
I'm not waiting to chop wood on Wednesday, so I'm gonna do a little mini chopping wood. Guys, need to get off Del McGee, and here's why. Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel stuck around to play for Del McGee. DeAndre Swift left early, left as soon as he could, whatever. Zamir White and James Cook could have left. They came back, won a national championship, played for Del McGee. Kendall Milton came back, played for Del McGee. Kenny McIntosh, every single one of those backs got better working with Del McGee. Not only that, he went after Kenny McIntosh. It took Kenny McIntosh in a class where, they could have reached on some guys and maybe, done some other things to work a little harder to get some other big-time backs that didn't pan out. Kenny McIntosh ended up being like a 1,300, total yard back. He had almost 100 yards of total offense a game this past year. Listen, Georgia may not be like they had Zach Evans in the bag, okay? They can't help that Zach Evans was a Molotov cocktail at that point in his life, okay? and thank goodness that the kid ended up panning out and being a pretty good player. But he had the number one running back in the country signed in the same class with Kendall Milton.
John Emery was committed.
Do what now?
John Emery was committed.
Yeah, it had John Emery. I mean, you look at James Cook and Zamir White in the same class. Those are two elite running backs. I know they haven't quite gotten what they wanted. Branson Robinson was a number one target for Georgia. They wanted him badly. They rallied and took a kid from the West Coast, in Roderick Robinson that could end up being a stud. They've got this guy. Let's just chill out on Del McGee because he's also
this guy and Tovani Mizell, who's a big, powerful, strong runner. I mean, in the mold maybe of Roderick Robinson.
Yeah.
When you're talking about, so you got both dynamics already really covered in the 2024 class, assuming everybody's
in January.
Exactly. Which is where we have to work from, right? We have to assume everything stays together. But like I said, you've got a real shot at number one and number two in this class in terms of where they stand right now. Now, how does it shake out? Who knows, right? But Georgia is very, very much in with Jarrett Gibson and Cam Davis. Has been for a long time.
Also, Del McGee, very big part of this whole culture connection thing that Georgia's got going on as well. Huge part of that as well. I mean, a dude when you start talking in those circles, a guy that really can get through to players and kind of builds it there.
You better not. Yeah, you better not listen. People think a lot. People think of these guys as one trick ponies, right? Del McGee is the running backs guy. No way, dude. Del McGee is out there working with a lot of these dudes. I'm promising you right now. I would bet you money Bo Hewley not in the 2022 class or the 2023 class if not for Del McGee. He stepped up in a
probably not Michael Williams in the
probably not Michael Williams out of Columbus. I mean, he stepped up in a major way for both of those guys. And dude, when he walks into Columbus, there's weight carried, and there's a lot of players in Columbus, Phoenix City, AJ Harris from down there in Phoenix City as well. Del McGee's name carries weight, dude. He give the man his respect.
Elton Smith from the area, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Right,
he went to Carver.
Yeah.
It seems like recency bias. Not getting Justice Haynes, people are beating up on him about.
Hey, who'd y'all say went to Carver?
Kelton Smith.
Oh, Kelton Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many Smiths. I didn't know which Smith you were talking about.
Maybe there might be some a lot of Robinsons here too. Speaking of signing day, since we're getting into
Smiths and Robinsons all over.
Listen, I think Georgia a lot to look forward to on Wednesday. I've been consistent on this show. I put my RPM pick in the other day. I think Deuce Robinson ends up in Georgia. I will be shocked if I'm wrong on that. But that's my feeling. I know Jake Rowe, you've had some intel on that too. I believe you're of the same mindset. But yeah, listen, you've got a chance. You got a very, very strong chance at Ellis Robinson as well. And then don't forget, you're talking about Walker Lyons also in this class. A 2024 guy for all intents and purposes, going to go out and do his Mormon mission and, spend a year doing that. But
for those just tuning in, not that guy. That guy's not doing a Mormon mission.
That guy's gonna come do the devil's work against opposing SEC offenses if he ends up in Athens. I promise.
As Ryan McGee, right? He's gonna come help drive the Death Star, as Ryan McGee called it.
Georgia with a chance in this cycle to bring in the number 1, number 3, number 7, and number 8 tight ends.
It's insane.
That's
and Jamal Merriweather signing on Wednesday. Somebody that shot up the rankings there late.
Yeah, huge late grab for Georgia with Jamal Merriweather for sure. So, train keeps it rolling. 2024 class looking outstanding already, and I think has a chance if you get Ellis Robinson in the fold. Georgia will probably overtake that number 1 spot.
In 23 or 24?
24. I think 23 is done.
23, yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an outside chance there. So with 23 being what it is, a lot of people are pointing to this as proof that Saban still has it, and they're going to go on the warpath, and they have another revenge tour coming. I just want to take a moment and remind everyone that Bama still has a lot more people leaving the transfer portal and entering the transfer portal than Georgia, and Georgia seems to be evaluating its 3 stars a little bit better. So I don't know if there's any way to really combine the impact of the portal and what Georgia has going on with its talent evaluation, but I almost want to say that a Georgia number 2 is just as good as and potentially better than a Bama number 1, if that makes sense. And I'm not a recruiter.
It's not like this is a new thing for Alabama. That's what Alabama's been doing the last 2, 3, 4 classes. It's not like they've slipped or anything like that. They've continued to recruit just this well, and they have, they didn't struggle near as much as I think, a lot of us want to say last year. It just didn't quite come together for them. They had an injured quarterback. I get all that. I still think at the end of the year, they were probably one of the best 4 teams in college football, but you got to play and win games on the field. And they didn't do that. But I think the talk of Bama's demise has been, accelerated, but I see what everybody else sees. And that is a team that is lost a step, maybe a quarter of a step. Nothing, this is like Benny the Jet Rodriguez at the end of beginning of Sandlot, the little thing that got weaved throughout there. Still a good athlete.
Before the PF Flyers,
still formidable. Still can get after you. And
my favorite line from that is Bertram got really into the 60s, and we never ever heard from him again.
One day you'll say that about me on this podcast.
Well, hopefully you got into the 2060s, that'd be great. I'd love to see you get into the 2060s, Roos, because I know you've thought for a long time you'd be dead by 50, if not 40.
I thought by 30, but here I am at 35.
But no, I think that Alabama's going to be good. It's really going to depend on quarterback for them. It really is, because if you couldn't win one with Bryce or really Tua, you won one with the half of Tua. Jalen Hurts kind of got you there, and then Tua gave you the spark. But if you can't win one in that kind of 4-year stretch, I don't know, man. I don't know. Those are 4. That's 4 years with really good quarterbacks. You want one Mac Jones, but I think Alabama. That's just, what are they going to do at quarterback? Are they going to get this defensive coordinator hire? Is it going to be Todd Grantham? Man, that's going to be kind of fun.
What are they going to do at OC?
That's a good question.
That's another interesting hire there. And it would be very interesting. Somebody pointed this out on the board. It'd be very interesting to
Kellen
see.
Moore now.
Could be.
That's not a bad
not a bad idea at all. I think a lot of people like what's his name? Brian Johnson with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I like Brian Johnson a lot too. Like, if that would be one of the first calls I would make.
2020 Florida offensive coordinator. Now, and granted, probably wasn't calling plays there.
No. But extremely smart guy, played the position at a high level. Really good coach and a guy that could recruit really well for you. But I think it's worth mentioning that, there's a path of behavior here, and that is this guy was a offensive coordinator at the college level and then took a quarterback's coach job at the NFL level. So he's probably got some things he doesn't like doing, and one of those may be recruiting. Even though he would probably be able to recruit. I know Joe Brady doesn't like to recruit.
Kind of fits that whole Florida staff.
Who cares? If you had to call Joe Brady, that'd be all right.
Yeah,
I'm very okay with that idea.
Yeah, Joe be good. But of course, LSU's lurking too, and they will continue to do so. Do we have any indication what the SEC divisions will look like once Texas and Oklahoma join? Because
there won't be any. I don't even know what.
Yeah, so
I was thinking there wasn't going to be.
So that dynamic kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do as far as. I like the pod idea personally. I like the whole split them up into four team pods, and then you play every team from your pod. You rotate one team from each other pod. Throughout, you have one common rival from each other pod. That gives you 9 games a year, but. Don't think they're going to do it my way.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how quickly Texas and Oklahoma fans pick up SEC pride.
They already have. They chanted it at the Red River Shootout. They chanted it. Heard Oklahoma fans chanting it when they were beating
I'm also curious to see how long it takes Texas and Oklahoma fans to want back into the Big 12.
Yeah, they'll want to be back. It will take them a little bit longer to get their heads wrapped around the SEC thing than it takes everybody else to get on the horns down train.
Yeah.
Tomahawk Dog asking about Miko. He's hurt. He is injured. He just got activated. Play tonight. He's been off. He's been on the IR for a lot of the season. Came back, got activated, but tonight's his first game back. Had an abdominal injury, I believe, and that sounds painful. Let's get to some dog stocks.
He got hurt tonight too.
Yeah, he got hurt tonight. Got shaken up. Guys, I'm going to say stock up on Brock Vandergriff. Brock stocks. I listened to his conversation with Aaron Murray on the Players Lounge podcast. Was really good. Wrote a little bit of my reaction to it and what I gathered from it. Published it today for our DawgsHQ premium subscribers. It's still just $29.99 to sign up for that through August 31st. And I think it was a foregone conclusion for many that Brock would just be Carson Beck's backup, and that's just how the spring would shake out. But Murray had some good perspective on what his spring competition against Zach Mettenberger was like, and that was never a guaranteed clear-cut leader until the fall, really, until Mettenberger parted ways with Georgia. But Mettenberger, like Brock, Oconee County guy, and I think Brock has the good head on his shoulders, but also it just seems like he has a good perspective, knows what an effective Georgia offense looks like after watching Todd Monken and Stetson Bennett run it for the last couple of years. And he just, I don't know, he doesn't seem like he's going to back down, but he's not doing it with a chip on his shoulder, arrogant, overconfident kind of way. And if that's what it takes to be good, then that works for some guys, but that is clear to me that's not how Brock's going to go about it. So I'm not saying he's going to win the job. I just want to say stock up on Brock's chances in the quarterback competition. I think just listening to him and hearing Aaron Murray react to his chances too, and I trust Murray's perspective on it. I don't know. I don't want to write him off just yet. I don't think that what am I trying to say?
Foregone conclusion.
Foregone conclusion. I don't think you need to conclude anything from it just yet.
Pre-gone concludatory. Hey, little 135-acre municipality in South Georgia named Rimerton played a big role in that Georgia quarterback competition. It's where Zach Mettenberger got busted. And
you can get liquor in Rimerton. You can't get it in Valdosta, or it was Valdosta, right? At the time,
yeah, I believe,
Valdosta.
Rimerton's right in the middle of Valdosta.
Yeah,
it is right. It is literally
an enclave.
It is 135 acres of like a street of bars, and there's a mellow mushroom in there. Been there many times.
Kind of sounds like paradise.
Yeah, Palmer. If you lived in Valdosta, you would live in Rimerton.
Confirm Palmer moving to Rimerton.
I mean, bars and mellow mushroom kind of.
Palmer would be knocking on some doors at 6 a.m.
I got a ticket for when I went to Valdosta State as a freshman. I got a ticket for Too Fast for Conditions because I was late for class one day and I slammed on brakes and skidded in and kind of bumped this lady, and she got out. She's like, ah! I was like, no way.
Ambulance
no
showed
way.
Ain't no way.
She had an Alachua, Florida tag. I believe that might be Gainesville, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. It probably not, but I've always thought it. But yeah, so Rimerton, not a good place to be for those sort of things. Stock down on Rimerton.
Stock down on Rimerton. All right, I'm going to go with mine. I'm going to say stock up tonight on the fact that Todd Monken is getting these calls, man. The fact that Alabama may be calling Glenn Schumann. This is all good news, man. I know it doesn't feel like it, and you got to do some hand-wringing about all this stuff. But listen, it means that you have good coaches on your staff. It means that you're developing good coaches on your staff, and it's an ultimate compliment. So Georgia fans need to recognize that, yeah, it's not ideal to lose coaches, but it's a best case scenario in a lot of ways. If nobody's calling for your coaches, that means that you don't have much of a staff. Todd Monken we'll see what happens. I don't think he leaves, but if he does, that's a great sign. And Kirby's going to be able to sell that to the next guy that, hey, we were able to send this guy to the league. We're able to get him back to the league, I guess I should say. But
not only do we get players to the league, we get coordinators to the league.
Absolutely. And so I think that I'm going to say stock up on all the attention that Georgia coaches are getting in a big way, because I think that it's as important as player development.
All right, I'm going to stock up because I just got it just now. Okay, like I mean, I couldn't really think of anything I was going to go stop up on today because I thought we were chopping wood. Because I can't keep up with this stuff, and I'm not a professional apparently. Listen,
we already knew that.
The mental stability and focus and toughness of a football player while playing football is unreal. Because I've watched both of these games today, and a situation like just happened a minute ago where a Cincinnati Bengal player sacked Patrick Mahomes on third down, only to celebrate, get up and look and see a yellow flag sitting in the secondary. Let me tell you something. I'd cut somebody. I would cut somebody. I would, there would be shoe gate. There would be helmet gate. I would fight a teammate or a referee, or once I figured out what happened, because you see how high the emotions run in these games. And for those guys to flush that, and listen, man, I can wake up in the morning and I can be 20 minutes later getting my kid out of the house to go to daycare and getting him back, and my day is almost friggin' ruined. Okay. Like a whole day. These dudes are cut from something different. So, mental stability, mental toughness of football players, because after kind of watching some football and seeing that happen last game in this game, these dudes are cut different, man.
Jake Roos, mental stability, stock down.
Ditto for Palmer Toms. Yeah, as the play that Jake Rowe was talking about, I was off camera, but gave a very noticeable what the just happened.
You sprinkled some action on this, didn't you?
No. Oh my gosh. Eli Apple, not a fan favorite
of anyone.
Of really anybody.
I don't even pay attention to the guy, but it seems like everyone hates his guts on Twitter.
Yeah. Eli he was the one that got called for the holding. Say what?
Eli Apple looks like Stone Cold ET.
Little bit of onion.
On it.
So I got some direction on my stocks. Georgia basketball wins on a Saturday. We got to talk about it on a Sunday. Stock up on the Hoop Hounds and their composure. They were down 12 in the second half, 10 with 6:31 to go in the game when they were 10.5-point favorites over South Carolina. End up playing some really strong defense, turn up the pressure, carry Oquendo, with some strong play down the stretch, held scoreless in the first half. He ends up as the only scorer for Georgia in a game that went to overtime in that extra period. He had 8 points. Georgia comes away with a big win over South Carolina, gets them back to 500 in SEC play, 4-4. Tough stretch ahead. They got 2 road games this week at Auburn, who probably won't be ranked after they've lost 2 in a row now.
No longer a basketball school.
No longer basketball school. At Texas A&M, who could be ranked. Can't remember how they didn't play in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. They beat Vanderbilt. They're playing good basketball now, though.
Vandy should be a Big 10 school.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened?
Auburn?
Yeah, what happened?
Oh, I thought you said Palmer. What happened?
I was like, Auburn. What happened?
Yeah, that was not good. But yeah, so stock up on Georgia basketball right now.
What's Mike White doing? What did he do to steady the ship after these losses all in a row here?
Couple lineup changes. You've seen some different guys playing. Jushaun Holt had a good game yesterday, guarding future likely lottery pick Gigi Jackson from South Carolina. Kerry Oquendo and Terry Roberts, the 2 guards, are playing strong. Jabri Abdur-Rahim, Frank Anselm, big man, Syracuse transfer. He's stepped in and taken some minutes away from Braylon Bridges, who returned from last year. But certainly playing well for them. Had a couple of finishes at the rim last night. Played good defense. So stock up on the Hoop Hounds.
One more little baby stock, talking about the NFL. Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean have their own chance to go back-to-back with the Eagles' NFC Championship victory and going to the Super Bowl. What a story that would be for those dudes, man. All they do is win.
Good dudes too. Really, genuinely nice guys, even though Nakobe Dean nowhere near as gregarious as Jordan Davis. I want to take this time right before we end here, Wes, and you kind of send everybody off. We're doing something different next week. We're starting something up Monday night. It is going to be kind of a Jake and Jake show. This is Bark After Dark. We're going to go a little bit later than we normally go. We're looking at probably like 8:45, 9 o'clock getting started. We're going to have a couple beers, maybe sometimes a cigar. Going to have some guests on. We're telling stories. And we've talked about this for a little while now, and our attempt in this, and I hope, yes, this is our that is our
I didn't realize how loud that was going to be.
Probably not great for the podcaster.
That buzz is
we apologize.
Apologies to anyone listening.
But what we want to do, our goal is we want to kind of break down a little bit of the fourth wall. We want to get some folks on from different networks. This is not about scoop and, all this stuff. We want to talk about, kind of the business and the stories and the things that we've seen along the way. The hotel we went into that we thought was, going to break out into a riot, or, driving from Columbia, Missouri to St. Louis, Missouri at 2 a.m. after a night game, that kind of thing. All the times you booked a 6 a.m. flight after a night like that. All of that happened this year, by the way, in one trip to me. But yeah, so it's that's kind of how it's going to be. Raining tacos, you're right. There will be no cigars inside the row house. I think that's probably somebody who lives inside the row house.
I was going to say, I think we may know who controls raining tacos.
We do have a back deck, though. We do have a back deck. So that's where we go. So we listen, there's a lot of dudes work over at UGA Sports. Have you seen the army of people riding the bus he's got over there? And they're all good peeps. So we will get Paul Meharry on there. Paul's really the star behind the scenes there. We'll get Patrick Garvin on there. Listen, we all spend a lot of time together in this industry, and we think it would be a lot of fun to talk and just kind of go over some and Roos, a lot of stories, me and you covering recruiting and our origin story of how we initially started working together. We want to share all that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. It's just it's just lighthearted. And and I'll say this, Jake and I were talking about this. It's been 10 years since Jake and I met, and we've been talking about doing something like this since we first met. And I think that it's really just an opportunity for us to get out and, link up with some people. I know this all seems like a hyper competitive environment, and it is for breaking news for sure. But what you don't see is behind the scenes, a lot of guys hanging out, telling jokes, having dinner and drinks with each other. And we want to kind of bring that feel to the channel. And so we're excited about it. I know I am. I've thought a lot about it, and we've talked a lot about it. And I think that it's going to be a good time.
Good stuff, guys. It's going to be wild.
Dogs losing me over here.
Is he talking about us? I don't
know. He said something about Meharry. He's going to have to explain himself.
Yeah, just DM Jake.
Shoot me a DM.
We'll discuss it there. Can't wait to see that, guys. And I know there's a lot of good stories and rough stories to be told and to be enjoyed. Can't wait to see how it goes. Appreciate y'all for subscribing and interacting with us in the comments, and for talking to us over at the Dog Walk message board at DawgsHQ. That's a lot of fun too. So sign up for a premium membership and join in the fun over there. Keep the action going. If you don't already, pop up and appear over at the DawgsHQ message board.
Wes, one more thing real quick. I've had a lot of people ask me about Jake Roos's background. Does he really have a micro? No, that is a backdrop. Roosters house.
This is my backdrop.
That's the backdrop. It hangs there. He puts it up before every show. That is a backdrop.
I'm trying to throw people off. You can't really know what's going on here. Okay.
Noted. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.